Donald Trump's bid to become president is an incredible long shot, even by the standards of a person who seems perfectly willing to overthrow the will of the voters in unprecedented ways that would have dire implications for what passes for democracy in America. But he does have some things on his side, charts. I would like to show you this image, which I screen capped from his Twitter feed. So what you're seeing right there, he has this chart supposedly of the election being stolen in Michigan. So he tweeted it out, but it was a quote retweet to the other time he put that same chart out, and he had just retweeted it. But that's what makes it so funny to me, is he is really excited about this chart, which doesn't show at all what he thinks it shows. It shows a lot of votes being presented at the same time the day after the election, because that's when the upload happened. Doesn't mean that those votes magically appeared. It means they had been counted and then uploaded. But he's apparently intending to use these charts in a court case because the election was a hoax. Thank you, Justin.
It's like, what's hilarious about this for people who have like the ESPN app on their phone, and you go like, it looks like the likelihood of winning during a football game. And he is just posting by showing like the giant spike that he's pointing at 6:31 a.m. a well-documented delivery of like votes coming in from an area that is wildly and historically known to be pro-Democrat. What he is saying is like, here's where they scored 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes because I have a crappy defense. Cheating. It's like, no, you're just showing a scoreboard and saying I lost, so it must be cheating. No. And that is what evidence looks like. You're just showing evidence that you lost. You have no evidence in there that you lost fraudulently. And that's our evidence is the vote count. It's the thing you keep sharing. Your evidence is nothing. Today, he tweeted a story from Breitbart that outlines, and the headline was something so trashy. It was basically like the story of election fraud as told by Americans. He tweeted that either today or in the late hours of last night. And that story is the account of a woman in like Constantino versus Wisconsin. That account had already been rejected by a court. So they are pushing things that do not hold up under the rule of law. That makes them against the rule of law, and they need to give up because they already lost.
And there's exactly what you just said. There was another example. There was for the most part, when these various accusations of electoral fraud or votes being made up or whatever, there's been tons of them, and you probably don't remember most of them because most of them aren't talked about anymore. It's because they bring them up. It appears in one episode of Sean Hannity, and then it turns out it wasn't true, and they never talk about it again, and they certainly never apologize. There is one case though where Tucker Carlson actually apologized for running with a story that had been debunked, and then Trump tweeted it out later. Like after the right-wing media had already apologized for it, Trump was still using it. He still says that they didn't have poll watchers in Pennsylvania when his own lawyers had to admit in court that they did. So look, it doesn't show what he thinks it shows, but that's also kind of a misnomer because he's not really thinking about it. He has a chart. He's sending out the chart. He doesn't understand it, but he's also very sure that the vast majority of his followers don't understand it either. But they think it says something, and the guy they trust more than they trust God himself says it says something. So that chart probably has been retweeted tens of thousands of times. It doesn't have to show anything.
Right, and that's, okay. We'll get into other aspects of it later, I guess.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.